Okay, so today we're going to learn the Sikha Parshas Shmiini, Sikha Aleph. Now, this Sikha is, like many other Sikhas, very, very fascinating in many aspects. It's fascinating from the aspect of Pshutei Shel Mikra, how the Rebbe takes a simple shot in the pasuk or an event that took place in the Torah, and turns it around that it's not as bad as people think in the first glance. And the Rebbe in this Sikha has three parts there. It has the first part, in Pshutei Shel Mikra, starting Ois Hey. He explains the halacha that you can learn out of this Pirush Rashi. And then later on, in Ois Vav, obviously, he also discusses Ha'ira in Yena Shel Torah, and each one in its own is extremely fascinating. All right, so the beginning of the Sikha begins with Pirushay ala pasuk. Rashi and his Pirush on the pasuk, Vateitze eish milifnei Hashem, vatoichal oisam. We know that Nadav and Avihu did an avodah, a service that wasn't called for. They did it on their own. So the pasuk says, Aish, fire came out, and consumed them. Maitik Rashi Atevis, Rashi quotes the words, just the two words of Vateitze Aish, that a fire came out. Umefarish, and Rashi brings a machloikis. Rabbi Lezer says, Loi Mesu b'nei Aaron, ala yidei shahiru halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabbim. That the only reason. Now, yeah, the Rebbe is medayik from the whole arichos here. Loi mesu b'nei Aaron. The only reason the b'nei Aarons got punished and they died was al yedei shahiru halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabbim. They paskined in front of Moshe. In other words, they did something here without permission. They took it on themselves that this is allowed to be done. That's the punishment. For that, they deserve the punishment of Misa. Vateitze yesh. Moira halacha b'fnei Rabbim. Rabbi Yishmael Eimer, however, Rabbi Yishmael argues and says, Shesuya yayin nichnasu lemikdash. Their punishment was because they went into the Beis Hamikdash intoxicated, they were drunk. For that, you deserve the punishment of Vateitze Eish. And with Rabbi Yishmael comes along a raya. Teda, the raya, that's the reason they got punished. Because we find Sha'achar misasam, only after Nadav Avihu were killed. We find Hizir Hanaisarim, the Torah warns everybody else, all other Kohanim that were left, Shalayikansu Shasuya Yayin Mikdash. They should not walk in intoxicated to the Beis Hamikdash. Isn't that a clear proof that to make up the mistake, not to fall into the same trap that Nadav Avihu fell in? So here comes the warning: nobody else should follow on their footsteps. So it's a raya that it's because Shesuya Yain Nichnasu Lemikdash. Mashal, and the Rashi doesn't stop there. Rashi continues and says, he brings from the Medrash, Mashal Melech Shahayel Ben Bayis. It's a parable, it's a mashal to a melech that had somebody that lived in his palace, somebody who was close with. And V'chulu, Rashi just alludes, there is a mashal that will explain this to you if you need extra help. As it's explained in Medrash and Vayikra Rabbah. So there are 4 points in this Rashi. A machloikis between Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yishmael. What's the reason why Nadav Avihu got punished? B, a raya to Rabbi Yishmael is from the very fact that right after their Misa, the Torah warns us on the other Kohanim, they should not go in to as Shesuya Yayin into the Beis Hamikdash, into the Mishkan, into the Beis Hamikdash, and the last thing is a mashal. In case you need extra help to understand this, there's a mashal which Rashi himself doesn't detail the mashal, just says as it's mentioned in Vayikra Rabbah. So here the Rebbe is going to overload with very obvious questions here. But tzarich lahavin, this Rashi really has to be understood. Siba Aleph, number 1. Sibas misasam shel bnei Aaron. If you're looking to find out why the sons of Aaron were killed? What was the cause of their punishment? What wrong did they do? You don't have to go too far. You don't have to be a lamdan. You look straight in the psukim and read the words of the psukim, bekasuv, straight in the pasuk. The pasuk shalifnei zeh. The pasuk that's right before this pasuk says what they did wrong. Vayakrivu lifnei Hashem eish zara. They brought a fire. They brought a service to Hashem, a eish zara, a fire, a sacrifice, or something like that wasn't called for. Asher lo tziva isam. V'lachein, and it seems to be that that's the reason why the next pasuk goes on to say, "Vateitze eish," a fire came out, v'goyma v'yamusu, and they died. So if the pasuk says what they did wrong, ain't sarich befirish klal. I don't need any other explanation why they deserve to die. The pasuk says they brought eish zara shaleitiva isam. Bays, another question. Okay, Afal Pikain Mevara Rashi. Despite the fact that the Torah does say a reason, Rashi finds it's important to say other explanations. Avaloi Kipshuta Shel Mikra, but Rashi does not bring the reason that's mentioned in the pasuk that they brought Eish Zara. Ki im biur she'en loy kol shaychus. Rashi brings a machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Eliezer, which has no connection to what the Torah says. L'chayra, l'mashmar saksuvim. It's nowhere hinted, or it's not mentioned in the pasuk that they were shesuya yayin. It's not mentioned in the pasuk hayru alacha b'fnei rabim. That's the reason. Why did Rashi bring those opinions to Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Eliezer? So in Araf 4, the Rebbe brings from the Gur Aryeh that the Gur Aryeh suggests that maybe the reason why Rashi brings this machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Eliezer is because Einachanami, the Torah says that they did something wrong and they deserved a punishment. But why did they deserve a punishment instantly? We know that there's a lot of averos that are einshim and einshim misya, Rahman al-Tlan, but it doesn't happen on the spot. It doesn't happen pesaimis suddenly, right away. Over here, we see right after, boom, it happened right away. What's the reason for that? So that's the reason Rashi's, on top of what the Torah says that they brought an Eish Zara, Rashi brings two other opinions, two other things they might have done wrong. Either the Shita Rabbi Eliezer, that Rabbi Eliezer says that Hayru Alocha B'fnei Rabbim, that for that they deserve an instant death. Why? Because it's a response to their behavior. Their behavior was they didn't act very quickly. They jumped into something without asking. So their punishment, their einish Rahman al-Tzlan, is midah keneged midah the same way. Boom! It happens right away. And according to Rabbi Shmuel says that they were shesuya yain nichnasu b'mikdash. It's also because they walked into the mikdash shesuya yain. The mikdash cannot tolerate this type of hepech hakdusha. Since the mikdash cannot tolerate this hepech hakdusha, right away they get punished. This is what the Gur Aryeh explains why Rashi is not satisfied with the beer what the pasuk says why they got punished. However, the Rebbe has two shilas on this. Number one, that if you're careful in reading the words of Rashi, it seems to be that Rashi is not only answering why they died so fast. Rashi seems to be answering also why they got punished, period, death. Because the wording of Rashi is Loi Mesu B'nei Aaron Ella Al Yadesha, one of these two reasons. That means to say, this is not only a reason for pisaimis, why it's happening so fast, it's actually a reason why they even deserved to die. And number two, says the Rebbe, according to Rabbi Shmuel, that shesuya yain nichnasu lamikdash, what kind of svara is this, that they should die right away because the mikdash is not soivel shichris. The mikdash cannot tolerate a person being intoxicated in it and kills them right away. We don't find anywhere that there is such a concept in Pshutei Shel Mikra. The Rebbe didn't accept the Gur Aryeh's hesber. Then the Rebbe says the Maskil of David has another explanation why Rashi wasn't satisfied with saying that the punishment of death was because of what the Torah says clearly. Because Rashi's bothered, why did they get specifically this type of death? Why was it Vateitze Eish? So because we see that there was specific, the Einish of Eish, Rashi brings this machlekes between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shmuel, reasons for the detail. Because either chatu be'esh, they did a sin that was brought fire, because hayru halacha b'fnei rabam. Says the Rebbe, you don't have to, if you're looking to find out why they got punished in a way of eish, it's obvious, because they brought an eish, that's why they get punished in that certain way. You don't have to find there's reasons of Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yishmael. So the Rebbe meanwhile asked two questions. Why Rashi B'chlal brings this machlekes when the reason for their punishment is mentioned clearly in the Torah? And if Rashi does find that there is a reason to bring another hesber, there is no mention in the pasuk for these items, for these two opinions, that Rashi finds this better than what's clear in the pasuk. Gimel, says the Rebbe, if you're learning Pshat, the Rashi is over here to explain the reason. Lama Mesu B'nei Aaron, what's talking the reason they got punished? Why did they get killed? Remember the Rashi's words. Rashi quotes Vateitze Eish Milifnei Hashem Vatoichel Oisam, and then he goes on to say his pirush. If the whole pirush is to explain why Vayamusu, why would he not add that most important word in the headline? He also should have quoted this very important word, and they died. Not just the words, the fire came out. Rashi actually, the headline of Rashi is Vateitze Eish. Vateitze Eish is not, you're not answering what the problem of Vateitze Eish is. According to this, Vayamusu, why did they deserve this misa? So Rashi would have explained what he said. And Rashi doesn't add the words of Vayamusu in the headline. Dalid, Yodua Klau, it is well known the rule, Rashi may be based Perushim Binyan Echad, that if Rashi finds it fit to bring two explanations in one point, this is because the reason why Rashi sometimes finds it fit that you have to bring more than one explanation is because each explanation for itself is not explaining the situation, not explaining the story or the event or the pshat completely with each detail. Kiyesh kusha, either each one has a problem, or kushim, or many problems, in one of the answers, which the second answer will answer the problems in the first one. Ella, however, even though he brings two explanations because none of them are picture perfect, still the one he brings first, who are Karev Yosel of Pshutei Shel Mikra, that's closest to Pshutei Shel Mikra. So if that's a rule that's established in Klali Rashi, and over here Rashi brings Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Eliezer, and he brings Rabbi Eliezer first, Tzarich Bir, we have to understand what are the difficulties in each one of their two opinions, and in what way is Rabbi Eliezer's pshat reason, which is brought first, why is that better than Rabbi Yishmael's pshat? Hey, a fifth question. Kamar Kamapamim, as mentioned many times, Maybe davar b'shem Imre. If Rashi ever brings an opinion and he says it in the name of the source of the person who says so, in majority of Rashi's explanations, he explains something, he quotes something without mentioning who is the source, who says it. So if Rashi does mention a name, it is because the Tosfos Hasbara, because by mentioning who's saying, who is the authority, who is the one that mentions this beer, gives an explanation, b'pirushay, adds some understanding to this explanation. So therefore, in our case, we have to understand he's bringing two opinions, and he says who they are. Ma melamdenu. What do we learn from the fact? Zeh sharab Eliezer of Rabbi Yishmael heim shepirshu kolechet es pirushay now. What do you learn from the fact that Rashi quotes that there's one Pirush, it's the Pirush of Rabbi Eliezer, and the second Pirush is the Pirush of Rabbi Yishmael. And the Rebbe in Ha'ara 7 says especially that Rashi makes a point to say these names when in the Medrash, the second opinion is not in the name of Rabbi Yishmael, it's in the name of Reb Shimon. So obviously by insisting to quote their names, it's because it's enhancing us to understand their Pirush better. So what is it? Vav, a sixth question. Pirush Rashi ki yadua, that when Rashi explains something is well known, the Rashi is meduyaku betachlis. Rashi is precise, very exact. He doesn't say anything extra. Whatever words he uses are exact. So Tzarech Bir, I have to understand about the last part in the Rashi. When he quotes the words of the Medrash, and he says, it's a parable, it's a story compared to a king that has a ben bayis, vichulu, as if you want to know the mashal, go check it out and learn the Medrash and Vayikra Rabbah. That is totally not the way Rashi usually does it, because either way, it's nishtahin nishtaher. If Rashi wants to just make a footnote to what medrash you should learn, and you go ahead and open up a medrash rabbah and learn yourself, Rashi should have said this in a much shorter way. The Chola Yoser, much shorter, by writing Mashul Melech. It's a parable to a king, as it's mentioned in the Medrash of Vayikra Rabbah. And no extra words, no ben bayis, shayala ben bayis, just saying Mashul Melech as it's mentioned by Vayikra Rabbah. And if he finds it fit that even the contents, the details of the mashal is important to mention now, so why only say one prat? It's not enough just saying a melech had a ben bias. We're missing the whole story there. Therefore, you must say that Rashi doesn't want to say the whole thing, but it's important to note that there's the beginning part, that there's a melech and a ben bayis. That will give you enough understanding, proof to Rabbi Yishmael. Rashi b'atakase mashal melech shahayil ben bayis. By the addition, the Rashi adds that the melech had a ben bayis. Hareze prat ikri. That is a very important detail. Ba'azboras pirushay, for Rabbi Yishmael to make you understand his pirush, that they were shasuya yain nichnasu lemikdash, you will understand it better just by knowing that there was a ben bayis and there was a melech. We have to understand ma eine muven, what is not understood. Ki imal yidei prat hamashal, only I only will understand it when I mention this detail that a melech had a ben bayis. Once I hear it was a ben bayis, it wasn't just anybody. Now things are much clearer to understand the shasuya yain nichnasu lemikdash. So the Rebbe piles up 6 very strong questions to understand this the quote of Rashi of the machlekes between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Eliezer. But Oisbeis, Va'abir b'cholzem, the beer is like this. Mikivan shapirusha sharashi, hu ala teves v'teitze eish. Since Rashi quotes only the two words, v'teitze eish, and Rashi is not quoting the word vayamusu. In other words, Rashi is satisfied. He believes that everybody knows why vayamusu happened. That we know from the Torah. There is a problem with the words of v'teitze eish that comes to mind. Move on. It's understood. Shebahen hakushi. In the words of v'teitze eish is the shaila. Shehechrichi lefraresh. Because of those two words, Rashi was bothered to bring Shaloi Meisu Aaron Ella al Yadei, that the sons of Aaron had other issues, other problems, why they deserve certain, possibly a punishment. It's the Vateitze Eish that's bothering Rashi. What is that? Says the Rebbe, Oifa Misasan Shabnei Aaron Bechlal, the general death punishment that Bnei Aaron got. Move on. That's understood. Why? It's tit for tat, as they say in English. They did something wrong, and they did something very wrong, so they deserve the punishment. The punishment that fire comes out and burns them is keneged hachet da'akravas eish zora. That's parallel exactly to what they did, that they brought down the eish zora. That doesn't bother Rashi. Avokasha, what does bother Rashi is the words vateitze eish, we find two extremes. The way the Torah describes this, their punishment is exact extreme, where just a pasuk or two before, the same words are used for the most positive thing. Avokasha, what's bothering Rashi, how could you say in simple pshat, simple understanding of the pasuk, that the words of vateitze eish can this time yitar hakasuv oynish hachi chamor. In these two words, the Torah is describing a harsh punishment, that a fire came out and consumed the sons of Aaron. But when shebeis psukim lifneza, when exactly two psukim before, the Torah described and used the same two words, vateitze eish, as schar hachi gadol. When the Torah was describing something extremely positive happening, the Torah used the same exact words, vateitze eish. Where does the Torah use those two words? When the Torah wants to say about a hashras hashchina shenikaras al yidei sheyotza ha'eish milifnei Hashem. It says that the Mishkan was set, and the Eish came out milifnei Hashem, and that was a sign, a symbol of Hashras Hashchina. So the words Vateitze Eish milifnei Hashem, two psukim earlier, is a straight, very strong, positive thing. It's a symbol of Hashras Hashchina. And now we're using those same two words as a punishment. Rashi, as Rashi says earlier, Shekol, as Rashi says, Shekol Zayin Yimei HaMiluin, during the 7 days of Miluin when the Shechina did not come down, Loi Sharsa Boy B'Mishkan Shechina. The Shechina did not dwell yet in the Mishkan. It was still the Shiva Simei Maluim. V'hoyu Yisrael Nechlamim, and the Yidden were embarrassed. They thought they're not getting anything. Amalahem Moshe, so Moshe says, Aaron Achi Kedai. It will be when my brother Aaron, he's worth it, and he's worthy enough that he should be able to be Mamshe Shechina. Shal Yidei Karbonosav Avedaisav, only when he will serve, and he will do the karbonis, and he will do the avodah, tishra shchina bachem, and vateitze eish, va'oz vayar kol ha'am vayaroinu vayiplu apneihem. So we see that the vateitze eish, the act of vateitze eish, is the most beautiful symbol of hashras hashchina. And yet now we're using the same two words which symbolizes Hashras Hashchina as a punishment. This is what caused Rashi to explain. So the Rebbe is going to twist this. And the Rebbe is going to say, even now, when it's obvious what the Bnei Aaron did, they did something wrong because ultimately they got punished. But when the Torah describes what they did, the Torah says at the same time as they are going to get punished for what they did, their Maisa caused the Vateitzei Ha'esh. The Maisa caused the Hashras Hashchina. They had the Hashras Hashchina due to their Maisa happened. Gilui Shel Kedusha. There was a high level revelation of Kedusha in their act. How high? Kishem Shal Yudei Avodas Aaron. Just like when Aaron did this service. Boha Gilui. Divateitzei Eish al Mizbeach. Aaron was able to be mamshich the Teitzei Eish al Mizbeach. Kamoikein. So too. Al Yudei Avodas Haktorah Shebnei Aaron. When the Aaron brought the Ketores, even though they're going to get punished for what they did, but their Maisa was Ba Hagilu the Teitzei Eish. They were able to reveal also a revelation of a Teitzei Eish. Ella, however, even though they accomplished something very great, Shum Shahaya Chesaron, because there was missing something. Lefi Erkamu Malosim, at least for their level, something was lacking. But something was lacking in the way they did it. That's the reason. That's the reason it consumed them. Really, the Vateitzei Eish was the act caused a tremendous gilui. The actual avodah that they did, was a very holy avodah. This is why Rashi says, remember, the Rebbe was medayik that Rashi used a whole long arichas haloshen, despite the pasuk saying that they did something wrong, and it seems to be that's the reason they got punished. Rashi says, Loi mesu b'nei Aaron. They did not die for that, for the fact that they did the avodah. The actual avodah was mamshech, a tremendous gilui. The reason why they died, because they took it upon themselves. They paskin this halacha of hakrava sa'esh, that they were able to, they decided to do this ketores. They did it b'fnei Moshe Rabbim. That's the reason that caused that, despite the fact that the avodah was a holy avodah, they got punished. The Torah says something different. The Torah says that they got punished, that it was an eish zora asher lo tziva oisam. Says the Rebbe, the ein zeh soiser, it's not contradictory. It's not contradicting the Mashanemar, what the Torah says, eish zora asher lo tziva oisam, that this was a strange, a foreign fire that they were not commanded to do. Ki adarabba. When you read into those words, the point is even stronger. Miloshen zu mashma, from this words of the Torah itself, it's proven shahakravason haisa ezora, that their service was foreign, rak mipnei shaloi tziva oisam, only because they weren't commanded. The sons of Aaron weren't commanded. In other words, the actual act that they did wasn't a bad thing. It's because loy tziva oisam ki im hein tzivu zelatzma, they took it upon themselves. Aval etzamayin, the actual avodah, the service that they did, there was no commandment against what they did. Nevertheless, nikra eizdara. Nevertheless, despite the fact that it's a good thing, it's still considered foreign. They should have not done this. Al derech mashanemar, similar to what the pasuk says, Ketores zara loy. It's foreign because for you it's foreign. But the actual act is a very positive act, and it's mamshich shgili shchina. Nevertheless, the Rebbe is building this up. Rabbi Eliezer just answered a very powerful shaila. How could Vateitze Eish be something from one hand so positive and now so negative? And the Rebbe answers, even here it was positive. Even here the Eish came down, the Ashra Shashchina came down, but you should have not done it on your own. So a side point is what causes the punishment. Says the Rebbe, if that's the explanation Rabbi Lezer gave, that Hoyru Halacha B'fnei Rabbam, Achkoshik Tzas Leimar, it's difficult to say, Sheboshul Zeh Yagia Einesh Chomer Kolkach. For doing, if the act was a positive act, they just took it upon themselves with not asking Moshe Rabbeinu, for that, you deserve such a harsh punishment? According to Rabbi Lezer, does that make sense, that such a harsh punishment, when now we understand that their Maisa was actually a positive Maisa? Umeram is Rashi, Hatiris. So Rashi will answer this problem, but Amroi, by quoting Shabala Pirushu Rabbi Lezer, by telling you who is the one that says this explanation, gives you understanding why it does make sense. Why, despite the fact you do something positive, if you did it on your own and not asking your Rebbe, you deserve to get punished, because it's Rabbi Eliezer that said this. What do we know about Rabbi Eliezer? Shvachim nailim in the floor nemu Rabbi Eliezer. We find that the Mishnahs and Chazal tell us tremendous praise about the greatness of Rabbi Eliezer, which describe his greatness and his wisdom in Torah. So Rabbi Eliezer was a tremendous Talmud Chacham, a tremendous knowledgeable in Torah. Ubikoza, and despite all that, Amar Rabbi Eliezer said, Rabbi Eliezer is the author of this statement, if anybody says something, but he says a new statement, something that he did not have the tradition, he did not hear this from his Rebbe, Goyrem l'shchina sheteshtalik miYisrael. Rachmana litzlan causes for the Shechina to leave from Klal Yisrael. Wow. In other words, everything you say has to be mipi Rabbi. Rabbi Eliezer is the one that says that. Aha. Shemiseh, move on. Now we understand how much worse would it be? How much harsher would it be? Rabbi Eliezer, in the statement the Gemara said, a person is not allowed to say something that he didn't hear from his Rebbe. He doesn't have the tradition, the Messiah from his Rebbe. Here it's even worse, because here his Rebbe is in front of him, and he's just overriding him. Not only he's saying something he never heard from his Rebbe, he's in front of his Rebbe, he's saying something. By knowing how strict Rabbi Eliezer was in this concept, move on, we could understand. Now we can understand why, despite the fact that Vateitze Eish is a Gili Shchina, but because they were Meira Halacha B'fnei Rabbi, according to Rabbi Eliezer, you deserve this harsh punishment. This is the shit of Rabbi Eliezer. Omnam, Ois Gimel, however, Adayin Ein Pirush Miyushav Legami. This Pirush is not completely understood. There's still problems. Kikasha le'idach giser. From the other hand, I have other questions. Kiv and Shabbat Ktaras HaKtaris. Hayru Alacha B'fnei Rabam, since when the B'nei Aaron brought the Ktaris. The bottom line is they were Hayru Alacha B'fnei Rabam. Vigor Mulishchina Shetistalik. And as mentioned before, Kanal, Rabbi Eliezer says that anybody who is going to Hayru Alacha B'fnei Rabbi, then he causes the Shechina to leave. How could you say from one hand the Shechina is leaving?
From the other hand, Vateitze Eish is a Gilui Shechina. It's two opposites. Eichi Tochin, how is it possible? Shal Yedei Zeh Teitze Eish Me'ein Hashras Shechina Kanal. So if something, there is a small flaw, Chas v'Shalom, with Rabbi Eliezer's explanation that there was something very positive, yet they deserve this big punishment. There's a disconnect, because if they did something so negative that the Shechina is mistalik, how could Vateitze bring Gilui Shechina? Because of this problem, the Rashi brings a second opinion, the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. Mishum Kushi Zeh, because of this Shaila, maybe Rashi Pirusheni. Rashi brings a second explanation. Shesuya Yain Nichnas Mikdash, and they walked into the base of Mikdash intoxicated. Why is this a better explanation? Shelafizeh, according to this explanation, Mighty Ba'azhara Shaloi Nitztavo Dayan. We're talking about they did something wrong. They weren't commanded yet. They weren't told clearly yet that this is a problem. They're not allowed to be intoxicated. Vim Cain, now I understand. The actual ketaitis that they did, that was fine. They didn't transgress against anything they did wrong, against anything they weren't supposed to do, because they were never told yet they're not allowed to do this. We'll move on. And now you can understand Mashal Yedei Hakravazu. Why they, when they brought this ketaitis, it could be Bateitze Eish, it could be a Me'ein Hashras Hashchina Kanal, it could bring a Gilui Shechina, because until now nothing was told to them that they did wrong. This is the reason why Rashi continues V'omer, and he says, Teida, a proof to this is Sha'achar misasam hizra nisarim shalayikansu shisuya yayin lemikdash. We find that only after the story happened, the Eibishter, the Torah says that whoever is left over, whatever kainim they're left over, don't walk into the mikdash as they are intoxicated. Kavanase bezeh, the point Rashi is making, loirak ledayik, not only to point, that not only the fact that in the middle of what's going on in the 8th day, right after the Torah tells us that Nadav and Avihu died, suddenly in the middle of the whole event, the pasuk makes a hafsaka, the pasuk breaks, by warning us, yain v'shecher, that don't be intoxicated when you go into the mikdash. Mashma, it's understood. Shesibas einsham yesh ba me'in azara. Not only the fact that the Torah puts it right here, the proof that the reason why they got punished is because of this problem of yain v'sheichar. The pasuk is even by telling that to us, the pasuk is giving us a deeper explanation. Elagam levar esa yisrain shebapirishah. The fact that the Torah went on to say that the Isser of Yain V'Seicha Al Teish is giving you explanation why Shesuya Yain Nichnasu L'Mikdash is a better explanation than the first one, that Hayru Alocha B'Fnei Rabbim. Why? Sheladas Rabbi Yishmael, because according to Rabbi Yishmael, he's saying, oh, look when they got Nitztava Yain V'Seicha, they shouldn't drink. Only later. So they didn't really do anything wrong. Sheladas Rabbi Yishmael loy avru b'nei Aaron al tzivei Hashem b'kravasam ki loy nitztavu adayin al zeh. Because at this point, when they did it, they were not commanded. V'rak achar misasam hizar nisarim. It only became a commandment not to be intoxicated only after they died. So that's the reason why their Maisa of the Akrava Saktoiras could bring Vateitze Eish, could bring a Me'en Gilui Shechina. Lo Yuksha, if you're saying they did nothing wrong, they were not commanded,
You have a question, Mashanemar, Ba'akdama la'inish, when the pasuk clearly says, when the pasuk introduces the reason to the punishment, the Torah says, Asher lo'tziva oisam. They were not commanded. Ki oisam madgish, because when the Torah says oisam, it stresses they were not. Mashe enkein acherim. The kivan shepashit, and since it's obvious, Shenadav Avihu banav agdalim shem Aaron, that Nadav and Avihu, which were the oldest sons of Aaron, nischanchu v'nimshechu b'yachad imoy, were educated together with him. B'vadai hema yoser kroivim b'mayla elav. They, from the sons of Aaron, they were the closest and the most halik from the sons, closer to Aaron. Ukamoshim Namar, as we find a proof in the pasuk, Alei el Hashem Ata, which is Moshe, Aaron, Nadav v'Avihu v'Shivim v'Ziknei Yisrael. Al Karchach Tzarech Lemer. From this we understand that we must say, Ba'isa Shah, even though the commandment came later, but at that time, Hayagiroim b'Malosam, the fact that they were from one hand very high level, they were as close to Aaron as possible. So for them, Shahoyu Shasuya Yayin, for them to be Shasuya Yayin, it's a giroin, it's lacking in their Maila, even though the Tziva happens later. And that's the reason why the Rashi brings Rabbi Shmuel's Pirush too. However, the problem with this Pirush, and the reason why Rashi doesn't only bring this Pirush, the Fi Pirush, if you accept this, that Chesaron was Shesuya Yain Nichnasul Mikdash, Hare Kasha, I got an obvious question. Maduam Nenshu, why were they punished ultimately if the tzivui only comes later? Why were they even punished? Especially with such a harsh punishment. The tzivui only happens char misas b'nei Aaron. So why do they deserve such a harsh punishment? It's Rashi, and therefore Rashi continues when he's explaining Rabbi Shmuel. Rashi continues by saying, "Mashul Melech Shahoyel ben Bayis." There's a mashul to a Melech who had somebody who stayed in this palace. K'de'isa b'Vayikra Rabba, as it is explained in Vayikra Rabba. So the Rebbe says, remember earlier I mentioned that Rashi says just bits and pieces from the mashul and doesn't go on to go further. So the Rebbe says, let me tell you what it says in the Medrash. Zel Lashna Medrash, this is what the Medrash says. Mashal Melech Shayla ben Bayis Nemam, there was a Melech that had somebody who was close to him, a trustworthy person in his house. Matzoi Oymed al Pesach Hanuyes. He found him standing by the doors of the taverns, the doors of the stores. He found them hanging around, and he is the ben Bayis of the Melech. So he found them hanging around in those places. He tis as Roshei b'shtika. He just chopped off his head, punished him. Umina ben Bayis acher tachtov, and he appointed another person should be in charge, should take over his position as a ben Bayis, and nobody knew. The Ein on the Yodim Neymah Haragas Arishan. Nobody really knew what entered the Melech's mind. Why did he kill the first Ben Bayis? Ella, however, from what we see, how he instructed his new Ben Bayis and what he told him, like Tichnas bepesach chanuyos, I don't want you to hang out by the doors of the taverns, by the doors of the chanuyos. Anu yoidim. Oh, now we know. Shemitoich kach harag arishan. That was the reason he wasn't happy what he saw. He found out that the first Ben Bayis where he was hanging out. So that's the reason he punished him, and that's the instruction he gives to the new one. That's the mashal. Says the Rebbe, Medivrei HaMedrash, move on. From this Medrash, it's understood. The Ima Yosha Rishon Leinitz Tavalza, the first Ben Bayis was never told not to be by the Pesach Chanuyos.
He was never told, and yet he got punished. Why did he get punished? Nevertheless, because your close household of the Melech, that's something you have to understand on your own. You don't have to be told everything. Even without a clear instruction. Doing these type of things are not pasnish for a melech, and it's against the will and desire of the melech. You don't have to tell you that. And he gets punished for it. And he gets killed for it. Same would be with Bnei Aaron. That's why Rashi hints. Rashi doesn't spell out this whole mashal. Rashi only says, when Rashi quotes the first opening words of the Medrash, that the Melech had somebody who was close, in a household figure in his house. And that's it. That's enough to explain why Bnei Aaron deserved to get punished. By calling them Bnei Bayis, comparing the sons of Aaron to Bnei Bayis, all your questions fall. Your question was, why were the sons of Aaron killed on something they weren't commanded yet? The tzivui of Shesuya Yain only happens after Mrs. Bnei Aaron. I'll tell you why. They are in a very high level. They are the family, Bnei Bayis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kamosha Kasuv, B'kroivai HaKadosh, my relatives. Umei Atzmam Yoidim Hanhagas Beisei. Relatives, family members, close people know how the household, was passed and was passed nicht. Gam Kishalayinitz Tavol Zebeferish. Even if they weren't commanded clearly. And that's why they get punished. However, even though Rabbi Shmuel's pshat now is crystal clear, l'chayra, that because they were Shesuya Yain, despite the fact that they weren't in Tztava, the Teitzei Eish happens, they bring a Gilish Shchina, but because they did something wrong, they get punished. Nevertheless, because Amy Yusha Vadayin Legamri, it still doesn't answer completely. Loimar Shebnei Aaron Yanshib Misa Chamura Al Davar Shenetz Tava. It's a little over that they should get such a harsh punishment if they weren't commanded. They should have figured it out alone. For them, they get Misa. Therefore, Rashi adds, Sherabi Shmuel who Shapirish came. By adding who's the author of this second Pirush, you'll understand why it makes sense they get punished. Rabbi Shmuel is the one that says this, that Shesuya Yain Nichnasu Lemikdash. What do we know about Rabbi Shmuel? Hine Amru Chazal Rabbi Shmuel. Chazal tell us about Rabbi Shmuel. Kahana, Rabbi Shmuel was a Kohen Gadol. Messiah Kahani. And Rashi says he would always, even though he was the Kohen Gadol, he always helped out and made things easier for Kohenim. When you look at Rabbi Shmuel as someone who is an Azil Koheni, Misayeh LeKohenim, then we can figure out what's going on in our situation by the Bnei Aaron, the Kohenim. Nichalei Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel's approach is easier. He wants L'sayeh Kane to help Kohenim, Ulahakel b'chet Bnei Aaron HaKohenim, and to make their sin less, and say it's not as bad because he wants to make sure they don't get as punished. Even if you're telling me that it doesn't fit, doesn't make that much sense in the pasuk. Even though the other pirush might fit better with the words of the pasuk, but from if it fits better in the words of the pasuk, the crime of Bnei Aaron is greater. Hainu loymar, to say she'avru atziva kadosh baruch hu v'hoyru halacha b'fnei rabbam, to say that the sons of Aaron did something against the Eibishter, because they were made halacha b'fnei Rabbam, even though it fits better in the pasuk, but it makes b'nei Aaron worse. Their action a worse action. So Rabbi Shmuel is willing to be a messiah l'kohanim, to say that their action wasn't that bad because they didn't have a tziva yet, even though it doesn't fit into the words of the pasuk that much. That's why, because of Rabbi Shmuel being who he is, and Rabbi Eliezer being who he is, each one came out with their pirush. Dalid. Ulam, however, after all this is said and done, yesh lahakshis al pirush Rabbi Shmuel. Remember, the Rebbe said before, if there are two pirushim, we have to understand why do we bring two, and why is what the first one brought first. So now the Rebbe is going to answer the last point. Now that we have two pirushim, Rabbi Shmuel says his pirush, Rabbi Eliezer says his pirush. Why is Rabbi Eliezer pirush sort of better? Because on Rabbi Shmuel's pirush that they were shasuya yayin, yesh lahakshas al pirush Rabbi Shmuel. There is a question on the pirush of Rabbi Shmuel. Aleph, miloshen hakosev vayakrivu eish zara, from the words of the pasuk that they brought a foreign fire, mashma shaba akrava atzma hoisazaris hachet. It's mashma that the actual act that they did was foreign. V'loidak mitzad hamakrivim. It's not what that something they did wrong on themselves, that they were shasuya yain. It's mashma that the actual hakrava was the problem. To say shehema you shasuya yain bakrivam, that's not mashma in the pashtus aksuvim. And the Rebbe in Ara 20 says, I hayhoira alocha b'fnei rabbi is also a side point. But the poil, the etzem hakrava, was a hayra alocha b'fnei rabbim. It has nothing to do. The second one, Rabbi Shmuel, the etzem hakrava, has nothing to do with the problem of shasuya yayin. Over here, the actual, according to Rabbi Eliezer, the actual hakrava is a hayra alocha b'fnei rabbim. Beis. According to Rabbi Shmuel, there was no sin in the actual hakrava. It was only a side thing. That's shasuya yayin. Lama, why? Why would the Torah say that they got punished through vateitzei if there's nothing to do with the eish? It's all because of shasuya yayin. Because of these two problems in Rabbi Shmuel's pshat. Therefore, despite the fact that Rabbi Shmuel's pshat is very, very geshmak and answers a lot of details, but these two last questions on Rabbi Shmuel's pshat, Mibir Kapir Sheni, Loimar Shapirish Harishain. Well, I'm sorry, let's start again. Therefore, Rashi is not satisfied just with Rabbi Shmuel's pshat. On the contrary, Mibir Kapirish Sheni, Loimar Shapirish Harishain, Av Shagam Hu Ain't Misyasha Lagamri, How do you call of Yosef Pshat Aksuvim? Machmas Kshusha Sanal, V'chenahu Arishim V'ikri. Because of the choices of these two Perushim, the one that's closer to Pshat, Pashtus Aksuvim, is the Pshat of Rabbi Eliezer, of Hoira Alocha B'fnei Rabbam, even though Rabbi Shmuel's Pshat is very Geshmak, so Rabbi Eliezer Pshat comes first. This is this chelik of Pshat in the Sikha. Now the Rebbe in Sifhei, I say, we'll go on to a chelik halacha. The Inyoni halacha should be Pirish Rashi Zeh. What you can learn from halacha from this Rashi. B'dayik Rashi v'Omer, Rashi is very accurate and says, V'chenu b'Gemara, Shahoydo halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabbam. Doesn't say they paskin in front of their teacher. It says they paskin in front of Moshe. What's the difference? What's the point? What's the stress that it was done in front of Moshe? Enough that they did something wrong. Any Rebbe. Why specific? What's the diuk that they did in front of Moshe? And the Rebbe says, I'll ask you a gar pasha the shaila. It could be that Moshe is not as big as an Avera as in front of Aaron, because Aaron wasn't only their Rebbe, was their father. I couldn't find even a greater Avera than the Avera paskin in front of Moshe. The fact that they're paskin in front of Aaron, Aaron was their Rabbam and was also Gam Avim. And the Rebbe in Ara 24 says, you can't say that Aaron was the Talmud of Moshe, and therefore it's not as bad as doing in front of Aaron, doing in front of Moshe. And the Rebbe gives a couple of explanations. Because by doing that, they went against the covet. It's a beginning the covet of Aaron, Ubefrat, and especially the Maisak Dairis. What they did wrong was the Dairis. That not nothing personal against Moshe. Hashayashayich la'Aaron. That's Aaron's field. As Rashi in the pasuk earlier says, "Vayove Moshe v'Aaron, nichnas Moshe v'Aaron l'lamdei al Maisak Dairis." The nimtza, the fact that they were maktik teres by themselves without asking, it personally affects Aaron more than Moshe. It has a direct effect, a pegia in the commandment that the Eibusha says, kabes avicha. So it's even greater than Moshe Rabbeinu's pegia. Based on that, it's not only why did Rashi have to say Moshe Rabbam, as mentioned before, on top of that, it seems to be he's coming to deny, coming to push away something which seems to be even harsher. Why did the Torah say? Why did Rashi say What's the depth of that? The explanation is like this. Matzina b'dina haseba, we find in the Hilchas haseba on Pesach that when we know that halakim from the seder you have to lean. The halacha says shetalmid ha'oichel lefnei rabbi, if there's a talmud that's eating together with his rebbe, afilu meinei rabbi muvak, even if it's not his rabbi muvak, einei rashay lahasev lefonav, he's not allowed to lean. It's disrespectful to do a seder b'fnei rabbi. Mishemayra v'kaved arav. Elam Cain, the only way you're allowed to do a seder b'fnei rav, nasan le'arav reshus lahasev lefonav. If the rav gives you reshus to do a seder, you're allowed to. Aval ein chiyuv al rav litin l'rei reshus. From the rav's point, from the rav's perspective, he doesn't have to give reshus. V'limcha l'kvoid and be boichal is covered. If he happens to give reshus, then the Talmud could. Masha'enkin, this is between a Rav and a Talmud. Masha'enkin, however, ben ha'eichel leitza aviv, when it's a son eating together with the father, where over there from Ein Zait, there is also kibbud of Ein that has to be covered. So the chayra haseba is a zilzum the covered. Afilu im avavu rabbi muvak, even if his father is not only his father, is his main Rebbe, Rabbi Muvak, Tzarich HaSeba. The Ben has to do HaSeba without any questions. L'fishem min hastam av Michael Kvoide Libanoi. It's a given that the father allows his Michael on his covet, so the son should do what he has to do. V'hainu, what it means to say, Shafil ba'ofen shekibud avav shehu rabbi, hu chamor yosim bekibud rabbi. Even a situation if the father is not only his father is his rebbe too. So a rebbe is definitely more covered that has to be given than a regular rebbe. Even that situation, hadinu the halach is shemen astam ha'av Michael ibn. You could assume that the father is Michael the cover for the son. That will not happen by a Rav and a Talmidei unless we know for sure the Rav is Meichel. The Talmud cannot do a Seba, and the Rav himself doesn't have to be Meichel. Ulafiza. If so, the same would be by the sons of Aaron over here. What happened? They were made halacha b'fnei. The Nadav Avihu were made halacha b'fnei Aaron, and they were also made halacha b'fnei Moshe. What's the difference? Im she'etzem hamitzvah v'achiv b'kvod rabim v'aviyim. Aaron, who gadol mechiv v'kvod rabim Yosha, even though to show honor and respect to their father Aaron is in one point greater than showing respect to Moshe, because their father Aaron was their Rebbe, and their father Moshe Rabbeinu was only their Rebbe. Because nevertheless, Hadin Noisin, the Din says, because it's their father, Haben v'Talmud Amir Allah b'fnei Alva v'Rabbi ein zachamer k'may Talmud Amir Allah b'fnei Rabbi. Nevertheless, as mentioned before by Haseba, that to give, just like by Haseba, a son is allowed to do Haseba before his father, even though he's Rebbe. So being Moira Halacha b'fnei your father, even though he's your Rebbe, obviously is the same thing. Just like over there, he's Meichel. In this Halacha, he's also Meichel. Me'achar shemina stam ha'av Meichel l'benoi. Masha enkein Rav l'talmidai. However, Rav l'talmidai, unless you know for sure that he says, I am Meichel, there is a zilzum l'kavod for a Talmud to be Moira Halacha b'fnei Rabbi, just like there's a zilzum of a Talmud to do a Seba b'fnei Rabbi. Based on this, moving the Yukish Rashi, al derech halacha, therefore you understand why Rashi points out mitzad halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabbim. The problem was not that they were Moira halacha b'fnei their father, because that's not a problem. The father is minastam Meichel. The problem was that they were Moira halacha b'fnei Moshe. Moshe is not the father. Moshe is the Rabbim. Mashenkin zeh shehaya b'fnei Aaron loinen shozeh. Me'achar sheminastam ha'av Meichel l'bnei. V'apizeh yesh lahamtik masharashi matik atevitz gam atevitz loy meisu b'nei Aaron. Rashi begins that in a roundabout way that they did not die only because the l'chayra mefurashu b'kasav kan. L'chayra, it says clearly in the pasuk. Rashi's point over here is to stress the mekivan the anudani b'nei Aaron, because we're dealing with b'nei Aaron. Move on. Shaloi mesu ela yidei shahira halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabbim, because they were b'nei Aaron, and there is Moshe Rabbim. So b'nei Aaron from Moshe Rabbim are not allowed to be Moira halacha. V'loi b'fnei Aaron Rabbim. All this is hinted in the Arichas Halashon of Rashi. So this is the halacha part, that the reason why they get einish is because they were Moira halacha, and the reason why Rashi stresses is Moshe, because Rashi is trying to say only Moshe caused it. In this case, their einish. There was a zilzum the covenant of Moshe. There was no zilzum the covenant of Aaron, despite the fact Aaron was Rabbim and Aaron was Aviyam, because Stam Av is Meichel K'vayde. Now the Rebbe is going to move on to the Yena Shel Torah, the Hayra and Avodas Hashem. Vav. The Yena Shel Torah, Hayra l'cholech v'echad shebepirish Rashi Yisraveinu, a Hayra for everyone, each and every one of us. Ima Yosha Metagashin Shel Nadav Avihu Hoysen Nailas B'Yoser, despite obvious the Nadav Avihu were very high level. Ba'at Kol Kach, they were such a high level. Sha'amar Moshe l'Aaron, and Moshe says to Aaron, Shehem Gedolim Mimeni Mimcha. Moshe says about Nadav Avihu, they are such a high level, even greater than me and you, even greater than Moshe Ba'aron. Va'Kadosh Baruch Hu Karam B'Kroivai. And the Torah, the Eibishter calls them my relatives. B'diri, the Cholzeh, nevertheless, Nanshu Ba'ina Shchomer B'Yoser, they got this terrible punishment. Why? Begal Heder Habitul Haroi Rabbim. Just by the fact they didn't have the proper bittul toward that Rebbe, they were Hoidu Alocha B'Funav, despite the fact they were a major Kroivei HaKodesh. They were very lofty level.
but they did not have the bittul to their Rebbe, they got this terrible punishment. Rabbi Lezer, as we find the first answer was Rabbi Lezer, who's the author of Meira Halacha B'fnei Rabbi, has this in him. Despite that we mentioned earlier, Rabbi Lezer, there are many shvachim of his greatness in the Torah canal. Hu ha'omer, he is the one that says, despite who I am, you need the bittul. Sha'omer davar shleisham b'nei Rabbi goyrem l'shchina sh'tstalik miYisrael. Sha'bitul l'Rabbi, somebody who has only when you have bittul, who davar hanegeya l'gili hashchina l'klal Yisrael. That's a fundamental point, that there should be the proper gili hashchina. Rabbi Lezer is a chagreis alamdin. Rabbi Lezer's shvachim na'ilim was said of his level in Torah, says the Rebbe. Umizeh, from this we could learn like this. Sha'al yomer adam Yisrael, no person, no yid should come along and say, Lamdin ani, Talmud Chacham hinani, ve'echei batel l'rav, how could I become batel somebody else? Or l'chakos, why should I have to wait? Sheyoyre li halacha b'Torah, I know it all. Or, if not in Torah, v'chein b'halichos olam, give me a guidance in the way of how to behave in avodas Hashem. Why do I have to ask a Rebbe? Why do I have to be batel to a Rebbe? I can do it all myself. Lanterns the pasuk. Kimi lonu gadol kenada Avil. There's nobody greater than another Avil. Ubekolza, and as great as they were, hayakol chetam, their whole sin was loy meisu b'nei yarei elo yidei shayir alach b'nei Moshe Rabbim. Their whole sin was that they lacked this bittul. Va'ad kidei kach. So much so, shezenegeya loy rak lehem. That didn't only affect that they got punished. Ki'im shegoyrem li lehepach ha'inyin shel gili hashchina b'Yisrael. It causes Rahman al-Tzlan the opposite of Gili Hashchina. Le'idach Yisef, from the other hand. From one hand, you're saying you need bittul. Darishim mikol echad, ve'echad sha'alim ha'Torah shalei yiyadafka ba'avana v'hasaga b'sichlei. Despite the fact you need bittul, we need that your learning shitaka be havana v'hasaga. You should understand it. You. Va'ad shekol kuloi yiyachad ba'avana saTorah. Your whole metzias, your etzem metzias should be durchgedrungen with understanding Torah. This is why Rashi continues and says, Rabbi Shmuel Eimer shesuya yayin nichnasu lemikdash. Doesn't just say they went in intoxicated. They went into mikdash. Explains the Rebbe, yayin hu bechinas bina. Yayin symbolizes bina, which is havana v'asaga, understanding things. Shesuya yayin, when you're intoxicated, a lot of understanding. What does that mean? Haynu maleim v'chaturim havana v'asaga. Durchgedrungen mit Verstand. You really understand it well. V'achetu. So what's their sin when you're shesuya yain? The sin is shenichnasu lemikdash b'tzir zeh. To be a shesuya yain choder b'Torah, that's fine. But to go in as that way into the mikdash, that's a problem. Hachisaron shesuya yain. The mistake, the problem of being intoxicated with the knowledge of Torah, that's only when you're going into mikdash, when you need the bittul. However, when the person is private and he's not walking into the mikdash, then on the contrary, then you have to be intoxicated. You have to have a lot of yayin in Torah. So what's the mikdash? When can't I be intoxicated? And when could I be intoxicated in Torah? Says the Rebbe, mikdash hu inyan atfila. Mikdash is during the time of davening. During the time of davening, a person is standing in front of the Eibishter. And the Rebbe brings a quote from the Gemara in Chagiga. Uman de machvi b'mochi kamei malka. Over there's a story of an Amora that was standing in front of a melech, and one of the people there in front of the melech was winking to him, showing him hand motions, eye motions, and there was a discussion, and the Amira responded, and they asked that person, the simpleton, what did this Amira tell you with his hand motion? He said, I don't know, I didn't understand what he said. So the melech said, a person who makes motions in front of a melech and doesn't understand what's going on should a chutzpah. How do you do that? If you don't understand what's going on in front of Shteisfar Melech and you're lacking this bittul, so he punished him. He only punished him, but he didn't punish the Amira when he also made a motion to him. So you see, the Rebbe discusses this in 34, in our 34. The simpleton, the versteht what he's doing, can't make. He has to have total bittul. The Amira that was also standing Kami Malka also made a motion, but that Amira wasn't punished. Anyways, the dogma is that the Inyan Atfila needs complete bittul. Shetzarech liyas betachlis habittul. Ki avda kama mari, just like a slave stands in front of a master. That's b'shas tefillah. When a person studies Torah, tzarech liyas b'ayv shesuya yayin. You have to be intoxicated. Shakol mitziyusay mumulas v'chadura b'seichel Torah. Your whole mitzias has to be durchgedrungen mit the Torah. The commercial Matina Rabbi Yehuda Barabbalai, as we find out about Rabbi Yehuda Barabbalai, Sha'amru loy matrunisa, a woman once told him, Shapana vayudayim lefana shesuya yain. He looked intoxicated to her. For Amala, Rabbi Yehuda said to him, Shazel lefi shetalmudei matzeh b'yodei. The reason why I give you this expression is because I learned a lot. Vahainu, which means to say, the reason why he looked intoxicated, his facial appearance was affected by his spiritual level. Because in a spiritual level, he's given it made his outer gashmis appearance look that way. That's b'shas learning. But b'shas davening, b'shas mikdash, has to be total bittul. This that we say that during the davening, a person has to be totally bittul. When a person davens in the eifin of bittul, that has an after effect that even when you learn, and during the learning, it has to be besichloi. It has to be durchgedrungen. You have to have avana vasaga. Yet the davening bebittul will affect that the learning will also have a proper bittul. Im shehi gam ba'avana vasaga kedabai. Despite the fact that the learning has to be ba'avana vasaga, there will be a level of bittul. However, the shaila, the question is obvious. How could you have these two opposites? How am I supposed to learn Havana Vasaga and have bittul? How could you have these two opposites while learning? From one hand, I have to understand. I have to know it. It has to be my mitzias, and at the same time, bittul b'mitziyosai. How could you be nice to these two afachim? Now, the answer to this, you understand from the next part of Rashi, where Rashi says, we're talking about somebody in the household, somebody, a family member of the Melech. Since we're talking about a Yid, we are the Ibish's family. The Ibishter gives them, the Yidden, the family, he gives them the koyach to combine two opposites. From one hand, from one hand, that they will be able to learn and they understand, and at the same time, until you follow his chabris the beis hafachim, until we can connect the two opposites, shel olam ve'elikus.
That how do we connect these two opposites of Olam and Elikus? Olam is Gashmis, Elikus is Ruchnis. Olam is Snaig al pi psak din shel aloymed. That the world, the way we behave, will be based on the psak din of the person learning, and what that the end result of your learning. That the pasuk says, the Chazal say that the limit of Torah has an effect of the world on the world. By doing that, you'll hasten kiyum hayud v'nigla kvod Hashem v'ro kol basar yachdav. That the Gili Ashchina, the Gili Kvod Hashem affects the basar, the Gashmis. Kipi avayir diber, bebias Mashiach Tzidkenu.